My paper was about women in combat. This guy wrote an article about how women should be in combat situations, and I was just talking about his rhetoric was like my rhetoric was mainly just talking about how his approach was very strong, too strong, I think, to capture an audience. He wasn't very pros and cons. It was just like they should be in combat with no exceptions at all. So that's really what I wrote my paper about. And he graded it really well. I'm not the greatest writer, so my sentence structure was kind of off. I should have wrote shorter sentences. I didn't explain a lot of things well because I knew what I was thinking in my mind, but I didn't write it down. And I used a lot of military jargon that he didn't like. Um, but I didn't realize I was doing it because it's just how I talk in normal life. Uh, Overall, I thought I did better than what he did, but I'm satisfied with it, and it made me understand my writing process. I was pretty I saw what he was coming from my sentence structure once I read it again. Like I didn't put commas in some places that I should have, but naturally I read my paper how I wrote it, but others won't read it that way unless there's a comma there. Just dumb stuff.
I have a lot of problems with sentence structure too. That's like one of the things. He's like, "Your sentence structure," and I'm like, "Okay, thanks."
Yeah.
On too. As a paper almost. That's like one thing that he points out.
Yeah.
That seems to be
I saw it after, I mean, like after he was going over it and I read it and I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, you're right. But when I wrote it and I reread it, I was like, oh, I thought it was a good paper. I thought I did well, but apparently it wasn't as good as I thought it was. But I also don't think I picked a good cop topic because it was really hard for me to not be biased.
Oh yeah, you're like too close to it.
Yeah. But I wanted to find something that I liked, and then I saw the article and was like, this is ridiculous. So I wanted to write about it because I couldn't believe this guy. And he used a lot of like people in the military to back up his argument, and I just thought it was ridiculous that he chose like three people in the military, and it was like, see, they agree. Like that was the whole.
But then they're all military people, so it's just like all biased and stuff towards military.
Yeah, and it was irritating, so I wanted to choose it, but it was a bad idea to choose something that was like something that was close to me because I've been in combat in Afghanistan and I'm here, so
Right.
it worked out just fine. But that's all.
Did he approve the topic? Like, did he know what you were gonna choose
Yeah,
prior
I sent it to him
Right.
because I wanted to make
Yeah.
sure it was okay. Because he knew I was like when we did our initial phone conference, he knew I was in the middle. Like I was talking about how I'm in the reserves, and I just got back. And that's why I'm in this English class, and there's a junior in high school in this English class. He was like, "You're kind of old to be in this class." Yeah, I am. Oh well.
Well,
Say about junior in high school?
yeah, I'm a junior in high school.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so
I'm
Yeah.
old.
Anyone else want to talk about their paper?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will. Okay, so my paper was about depression in schools, like high school and stuff, and how it affects people. The two co-authors that wrote it are just a junior and a sophomore in high school. It was like for their journalism class or newspaper for their school, and it got published into the New York Times website and paper and stuff.
That's
So
cool.
they talked a lot about how a lot of people have depression in high school and they don't know it, or like people show signs but then people just kind of brush it off, and how some people think it's not really anything and then other people do and all that. So for his feedback, I wasn't really that surprised. Like some things at first I kind of was, but then as I read his reasoning and stuff, I was more like, yeah, I understand that. So a lot of the main thing was sentence structure, and how I kind of grouped together my appeals. Like one of the things I did was I grouped together in the same paragraph my appeal to logic and emotion. Because in my mind, I thought that I put them together well, but then I didn't really convey that on paper well enough. So that was something. And then I could have used more examples or whatnot, or like say which ones are the examples from the paper, the article, and then which ones are like my examples that I personally found. He was a little confused about that. One of my other big things is that I built up really well, but then at the end, I didn't really deliver as good. Like he was really excited, and then at the end, it was just like nothing. It wasn't good enough to, for the build up, which I didn't even know I was doing, but that was a big thing too.
Yeah, I think I had a lot of things similar to yours, sentence structure and just not explaining what you're thinking well, like not having good examples.
Yeah.
But you thought you like at first, like I read my paper and was like, "Oh, this is good," and then he came back and I was like, "Crap."
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think I did pretty good overall. I got pretty good points to where I did good, and it was my first rhetorical analysis.
Yeah.
So I was pretty happy with myself.
Yeah,
I hadn't done it before.
Me either. I was trying really hard not to be biased as well.
I know, me too. Okay. So yeah.
Jordan?
Okay, I didn't get the content approved, so I was kind of maybe a little sketchy on what to pick, so I just kind of picked like a good piece of classic rhetoric. I've been to the mountaintop from Martin Luther King, and he said previously, prior to like reading what I wrote, that he may not have, I guess, accepted that as good content, but after he read it, he pretty much said it was pretty good because of some of the links to the appeals that I made. There's a lot of different like references to the arguments in that speech that he did, and just some of the things that he highlighted was to follow like proper formatting. He said this is not a good way like to use quoting, because I added some specific quotes from the actual speech into it. And mainly, he said I would touch on certain key points to the different arguments, but he wanted me to kind of explain rather than giving kind of black and white definitions to kind of go into further explanation. The structuring.
I think all of us had problems with sentence structure. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I think it takes a lot. I think it takes growing as a writer to really get that down.
I like a lot of learning.
Yeah, that's another thing that I've talked to him about, is I haven't really, I do a lot of like free writing and actually going back and scrutinizing it, analyzing it, and checking for those like simple type of mistakes. I don't normally do, so that's definitely one thing that I take from all of his feedback.
Yeah, I don't write a lot unless I have to.
Yeah, I used to write more than like when I was like in actual high school, and then now I'm just like nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the hard parts is trying to find a topic, and like a good topic too.
Yeah.
Like I found Jordan's topic to be pretty interesting, but I wouldn't even have thought of like picking that. I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah, that was my big thing. Like, I went through a lot of articles. Like, I started with an article about women in the workplace, but it was so long, I couldn't write a good rhetoric because it was like 15 pages long, and my rhetoric would have to be like 25 pages long to try to summarize that up. So I had to find something else.
My article was really short, so I found that to be easier. I think that's also something we talked about in my last one too. How long was yours, Jordan?
How long was the actual
like the article or the?
It's a 15-minute speech, which I read it in paper, and then there was also like a video clip attached to it. I only picked it mainly because of all the stuff that, like, he didn't even want to give that speech that day. He wasn't going to, and then he did, and then not even 24 hours after that, he was assassinated. So I thought pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked that, really. And I know all real professional speakers, they know how to key in on all of that stuff, like, linking arguments with humor and humility, stuff like that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I knew
Politics.
that.
They're really good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured that would be my best route to take, and I guess initially he wasn't too happy about that, but after I did it seemed to be okay.
That's good.
That's what I was nervous about as well, because I sent it over his way and I was looking at many articles, and I could not find one that I feel like I could write a good amount on. Like, I needed something I had a little bit of passion towards.
He sets the bar pretty high too.
He did, yes.
I feel like he might read my writing and think it's really mundane and not very good, probably, by the way he talks, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think this class is harder than I thought it was going to be going into it initially.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I was pretty stumped at the beginning of the analysis because I'm like, I have no idea what to write about. What do I do? So I emailed him, and he was pretty nice about it. He was like giving me like examples or like what I could do, and so I'm like, never done this before. I don't know what to pick. Like, I don't know what topic would be a good, analysis.
Yeah.
I had to really narrow down what he was specifically looking for. Like,
right.
When the course started, I kind of went ahead and did a bunch of things, and then kind of did them wrong.
Oh yeah.
A lot of time trying to figure out specifically like what he was looking for, but we're on a pretty good wavelength now.
Yeah, I did a lot of things when this class first started because I was like 1,700 points to get an A. I was like, holy crap.
All this technology, all these points. I've never taken a class like this before. I was tripping about it at first, but
yeah, I don't know.
I'm sorry, my dogs are being really rowdy.
I've talked to some other people that were taking it, and they were like considering dropping it and everything else because they weren't familiar with the technology, which I'm not either, particularly.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of glad I've put myself outside the box, to basically learn how to do it, so I can see where it'd be beneficial. A lot of this stuff, conferencing, things like that.
It's kind of crazy though because I do a lot of technology and I work with technology a lot. But this is like a lot of technology that I don't know, like screencasting and all that. Like, I didn't know how to do that before this class because I never really had to.
Yeah.
And I was nervous about the time to put into this class because I feel like you have to put a decent amount of time into it. Like, we're writing multiple papers and our blogs have to be long and all, like, a lot of time has to be put into this class that I wasn't expecting initially.
Yeah, I think he said you don't have 15 hours a week to devote to it, then you probably shouldn't be taking it. That's what he had said originally, but
yeah, that's nuts. But I'm glad that, I'm writing better than I ever have. Because he gives direction really good as far as like what you're doing wrong.
About the analysis. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I've definitely learned and taken on. I'll be able to take on is anybody could write, and produce some valid thoughts or points, but to actually like capture the reader's attention and know how to do that the right way, I think, that's definitely a good step to being a good writer. You definitely have to know how to do that, and that's basically everything these arguments are showing.
Yeah.
All right, so this recording's about to end. I'm going to stop it now. I just wanted to tell you guys.
Okay.